What's good, everyone? I'm Zayas, and today I'm here to review Kanojo Mo Kanojo, aka Girlfriend by Hiroyuki. Kanojo Mo Kanojo just finished like a week ago, so it's a good time to review it. Hiroyuki has been drawing romance manga for what feels like forever, and has his own special brand of rom-com harem that he likes to make. They usually have crazy, absurd comedy, oftentimes sexual in nature, and a lot of his series are just sexual in general. The protagonist is usually somewhat of a goofball, almost like a lovable idiot, and oftentimes also very perverted. This is ecchi after all. Mangaka-san to Assistant was easily my favorite work of his. It had great comedy, great characters, great artwork, just a great series all around. But I couldn't say the same about his next work, Aho Girl, where I felt like the repetitiveness of the comedy really dragged the work down. Dojin work, his first work, was somewhere in between the two. It's not as annoying as later parts of Aho Girl, but it's also not the best. It doesn't do anything that well. The comedy was okay, the characters are okay, art was actually pretty bad. Since then, his artwork has actually been really good. I think Mangaka-san to Assistant is my personal favorite, but all of his series have pretty good artwork, especially if you consider where he started from. He's written plenty of doujins and short works too, the most surprising of which was the fake doujins, which he apparently did. But usually all his works are in the same vein of just being light-hearted romances. If you've read his most recent doujin, it's actually just literally the early ideas behind Kanojo Mo Kanojo. It's called Two Timing Fair and Square, and it's literally just Kanojo Mo Kanojo, so I guess if you want to re-experience the first 10 chapters, you can go check it out. Kanojo Mo Kanojo itself actually starts out very strong. The comedy really holds everything together. It revolves around these insane, deranged scenarios with these idiotic characters as the cherry on top. The series is obviously being intentionally a little goofy, a little silly, joking about topics like polygamy or just how dumb these characters are, and it's all pretty fun until it wears off. It only really takes about 20 chapters for this series to suffer the same fate as Aho Girl, where the comedy starts to get really repetitive. That, on top of the series mysteriously wanting to take itself more seriously for some reason, just made this whole thing crumble. When the series is funny, everything works. When it's not, it's hard to get through. I felt like I was losing brain cells, just like listening to the twisted motivation and like the warped logic all these characters had. It didn't make very much sense. It is kind of parodying harems a little bit, but is it really a parody if all you're doing is just putting out another horrible harem, one which is actually maybe worse than a lot of harems in a lot of regards? It's chocked full with harem stereotypes. You got the beach scenes, you got all the study lessons, you got the stereotypical harem cast, but it's way dumber than your average harem in every way. And this only gets worse the further along into the series you get, because it takes itself more and more seriously, and instead of doing like comedy arcs, all of a sudden we have drama arcs. Now, characters have their own individualized drama arcs, and how are you going to take this drama that's happening seriously when you can't take this work seriously at all? You have no stakes and there's no investment into this series. My brain felt as if it was rotting while reading this series, and it felt like I was slowly getting closer and closer to being in a comatose state while reading this. The story elements are very similar to a standard harem, but they're exaggerated so far to the point where it's hard to stomach. And then there's the dialogue. These guys decided making the dialogue extremely dumb wasn't enough. They also had to make every character yell every fucking sentence for some reason. Like, hey, you're going to the store? Do you want anything? No? Okay. I actually like the artwork. I mean, if you consider these incredibly large dialogue boxes, which take up like half the screen, I didn't appreciate that. But in every other manner, it's pretty good. Character designs are done extremely well. The artwork looks clear. It looks precise. There's strong, solid lines. It's not saving this mess of a series, though. These characters, too, really start to get annoying partway into the work, just because of how repetitive they are. Characters are usually given one or two traits, and that's really all they get. And I enjoyed it at first, but after you see it happen over and over again so many times, there's only so much you can take. Naoya is just constantly serious, also pretty dumb. Nagisa is always shy. Mirika is always acting dumb, and Saki is the one who's always being fiery. These weren't like the worst characters I've ever seen, but I definitely need to see more out of them, just one or two things to be able to like them or to be invested in their story. Shino was my favorite character in the story. I think she had the best character design. I also thought she was personality-wise the most sane person in the story, which when you're surrounded by a bunch of idiots, it just makes her a lot more likable, I guess. The ending didn't help the series either. The last 60 chapters were all about drama, and it took itself way too seriously for how unserious it's supposed to be. Even like before that, there was some attempts at comedy at least, and I think if he's trying to make it funny, that's probably a better thing than not trying to make it funny. But those comedy attempts were not great because we had seen all that stuff before. It is a harem if you like harems. I couldn't get behind the romance in this series at all because of how dumb it is. I feel like this series definitely could have been good if it was actually funny the entire way through. And I hope that Hiroyuki doesn't go back to making more series like Aho Girl or more series like Kanojo Mo Kanojo, because I know he can do better. I'm feeling like a strong 2 on this. Thank you everyone for watching. Skip to Loafer for real next video. Like and subscribe, comment about manga, whatever. See you.